Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Breaking the Block. We're here today to chat about all things that are creative and what might be blocking us from keeping our creative words, things flowing. And I will let my co-hosts introduce themselves. Rach, you want to start and we'll move down to Maggie and then Skye?
Sure thing. I am Rachel D. Adams, or Rach as everybody calls me. I write a blog on Substack called Aggressively Helpful Writing Advice for practical writing advice that sometimes the experts don't give you. I have two series, a prequel series and a current urban fantasy series that are slowly but surely making their way into bookstores wide in indie published style. Maggie?
Hello, lovelies. Mama Maggie Ward here, independent author and stroke survivor with a new book coming out today, The Spartan Chimera. And also, this is going to be the celebration stream for my 7th year. So yeah, I think I've been around a little while. I've been around WriterTube, AuthorTube, and book reading a bit, just a bit.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Skye. I'm a fantasy author who typically writes paranormal romance under the name sdhegyes, and I really have nothing else. I'm still trying to wake up.
I get that.
Coffee.
I even got my villainous mug. Yeah, I tried to take a nap before coming on here because I've been up since 6 and I didn't get to bed till after midnight. But that didn't happen because right here.
We won't talk about what time I went to bed.
Oh goodness.
3 a.m.
Yeah. Oh gosh. No. We got Eva, we've got Andy, and MSA is hot as well. Started wearing my mama, bro. Nice.
I have elevated to bruh.
Oh my goodness. All right. So I know we had a few questions popped up while we were talking backstage. Do y'all have anything that you want to talk about before we hit those?
Not really.
Not really. I'm sure
I
there'll
would
be
probably be the one that comes up with something in the middle of it.
Yeah,
So.
same.
Shall I start?
You can.
Okay, so yesterday we were on a stream and with a lovely writer in the chat that we all love, and she was discussing with the people on stream. It was author J.C. Carpenter's stream, and Tiffany TRS Lifestyles, and Esther was there, and Laura Nettles was there, and just we were all there, and we were chatting, and she came in, and she's writing a cozy. She's writing contemporary cozy romance, one of the bakery romances, and the genre expectations for that genre are 60 to 80,000 words. And she's like way over that. So she was talking to us. We were talking about what to do to cut 40,000 words from a manuscript. 40,000 is a lot of words. I mean, you can go through, cut a character out, and only lose like 5,000 or 10,000 words. And so it's going to be, and it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be really, really hard to cut that much off of it. So, question to the panel and to the audience: do you cut the 40,000 words, or do you split the book and do a duology? She really wanted to do this in one story, and respect that totally, wanting to just have the one book. I completely understand that. As an overwriter, that is not a possible thing for me to do. I've ended up with so many duologies. And even like Spartan Chimera, the book that I'm coming out with now, there was actually like 12,000 words that I just whacked out of the whole thing because I had to trying to make it fit into the word count genre of genre expectation. And that's a real limiting factors for authors these days, because writing high fantasy, you can go with the giant word counts, but a lot of readers these days are intimidated when you hand them something and you go 100,000, 120,000, 150,000. So to everyone, when you've overwritten your genre expectation and word count, publish the longer story, split the story, or take the axe to it. Go.
So, coming from somebody that wrote I'm No Hero, which was 250K, I've moved it down to 198K-ish. I took the axe to it, and it's still over. It's still a chunk book. And I think that's the reason why I went with serialization. So that could be another avenue to go. I don't know if she would be comfortable with serialization, but with serialization, they do like longer books. They like multiple episodes that they can dive into and binge read. And for some odd reason with serialization, it keeps the reader's focus better than it does an actual physical book. So that could be an idea.
I agree with Sam. The serialization, even if you're cutting stuff, for me, I've done a combination. So I have set up on Ream a section that I called the cutting room floor, so that people who are interested in our stories get to see the stuff that we didn't add to the book, and we add the reasons why we didn't add it to the book. And that seems to draw interest. And then we've got, and then of course the serialization. If you want to do it, do a serialization as a means to go back through and decide what to cut and what not to cut, you can be making money from your serialization before you actually publish a completed book. You can just pick and choose what you want to add to your book. Then there's what we did too, was we had I think 126,000 words. And we actually decided, well, there's enough here for at least one book, for real, one book, but we may be able to do another book. So I started kind of picking what could go and what could not go, but that in and of itself takes work. But you have to figure out what stays and what goes. So prequel number 3 wound up over here, and it's going to be around 90,000 words, 80 to 90,000 words. We're trying to even kind of get it a little bit further back, because the other 2 prequels were 65 to 75,000 words. And then what we've got left over is actually a coherent story that comes from the other side. So we decided, well, we'll just have all 3 prequels on sale as regular books, and then we'll make this smaller story into our reader magnet. So we're just revamping how we thought of what we were doing to begin with, and that way we don't waste anything. Sorry.
Yeah, Eva says start the story later or something. And to kind of piggyback off of everybody else, if you start the story later, you can use what you cut as the reader magnet, like Rachel said.
Yes.
So yeah, don't be scared. Killing your darlings is something that we all have to do, and eventually we'll get tough. I think, maybe, I don't know. I doubt it.
Well,
there are several things that I've not included that y'all never get to see. Like there's a kindred that you guys don't really get to see much in the books because he got cut. Not that he's a bad character, just didn't make any sense.
cutting to get a large volume word count, like with Smart Chimera, I cut an entire character. And then you have to go back to the book and remove all references to this character, all scenes with this character. Anytime anyone else even thinks about this other character, has to go away.
Yep.
And but like the only ways to get those kind of massive cuts that I found, because I'm a notorious overwriter. I mean, a book's not a book unless it's 100,000 words, and I can beat a home intruder with it. So you're cutting for that kind of, you end up cutting an entire side character. They always talk about, well, you just smush two characters together and make them one character. Well, that's the problem with that is you still end up with a lot of scenes that are still in the book. So you have to completely, cut someone out, say, sorry, sweetie, I love you. You have to go in another book. Stuff him in your delete scene file. That poor character. Or you have to take an entire subplot of the story out. And that could be a thing. Or you're pulling a bunch of your world building, or you're pulling your background stories. It's a lot of words. And just to get 10,000 words cut is a huge endeavor. And if you're someone who has a lot of purple prose, that might be easier than someone who writes where there is, even the most mundane things apply to the story later. So it's a real question. I mean, I'm a fan of the duology. I'm a fan of the idea of splitting the book and going in two directions, because I bleed with my words that I'm cutting. Yeah, I'm like, no, which is why I have folders over here of scenes that I've cut and on my laptop that are going to go into another book, because improving the story, there is improving the story by cutting things, but you're cutting half of a book from your story. So that's a lot of reworking to do. So that's why I'm like, just split the book and make two. And I have done that several times. I Red Velvet and Anemones was originally one giant book, and then it became Red Velvet and Anemones and The Wild Anemone. I split that in two. My book about my Olympic diver, Blue Butterflies, that one was one giant book, and I split it to be Blue Water and Blue Butterflies, because I can't write small. I don't know how people do it. Hi, Emma. But yeah, I feel for her. I really, really do. All my love to her when she's probably, I'm going to tell her about this so she can watch it on the replay. But as readers, because we're all readers here, would you be happy with two books? Or would you prefer it all in one thick book?
I like two.
I'm going to be the weird one, because I've got a couple of things to add to this. Based on your question alone, my answer is actually no, I do not want two books, because I have discovered with like 90% of the duologies I've read that it could have been one book and they just cut a lot out. Like there was a lot of extra fluff that was unnecessary. And so I'm reading half these duologies going, this could have been one book. And then the other problem with having it as two books is there has to be a natural end to book one and a natural beginning to book two. And if it's one cohesive story and you just have a cliffhanger for no reason, to me, that would irritate me more as a reader. And I'd just be like, not my channel, I can't cuss. I'd be mad. Especially like if we've got book one and then we were supposed to wait a year or two to get book two, or a long time to get book two. And
I
then
can see that.
The other thing,
I'm the writer who I'm like, don't publish the series until you're finished with the series.
Yeah.
But I know that I am like the 1%er on that. I write the whole series before I publish book one. So
Yeah, I would be like with Emma, what Emma says and what Skye says. I do mean when I say duology, I do mean it to be like I do want to end
Hmm.
in the beginning. I want it. I want two separate stories. So if it's not that, then yeah, maybe just publish the whole thing, or figure
See,
something else.
I think that might be her issue, because the main part of the story, the main bulk of the story, is this one long event thing.
Mm.
So I don't know if there would be a place that she could split it anywhere if she tried to split it. See, with my duologies, because I'm one of these weird people that will put a climax in the middle of a book and then have big and small climaxes. But I had places where I could split mine.
Okay.
I had places where I could end them where, it ends. This makes sense that it's ending, but there's a climax, like a cliffhanger on the end, to pull you into the next book, because the next book, and it starts in the same place and is its own adventure. But that's a very good point of having, does the book make sense where it ends? Does the next book make sense where it starts?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then I think the other idea is that it depends on if you are going trad publishing or indie publishing, because to me, one of the pros of indie publishing is the fact that you can publish all these large chonkers.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's really going to bat an eye. I do not go on Amazon and say, how many words or pages does this book have? I don't care. Hi, you're not going outside. You're limping. No. So I'm not going to go onto Amazon and be like, how long is this book? Unless, of course, I'm buying the physical version. But by then, I have already read the book, probably, just because I don't have enough room on my shelves to purchase paperbacks all the time. That's a right reserved for I love this book, I want to read it over and over and over again kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, the word count doesn't really matter. But I know that's a me thing. So.
Yeah, but if you're mass marketing, though, you have to understand, everybody that's on Book Talk right now, this younger generation that's on oh my God, my children's age generation, they all come from Vine.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went to TikTok. So they want content that's this big.
Mm-hmm. I'm one of those people. I like short books, but I'm not going to go look and see, hey, how long is this book? That's more what I was getting at. I love me a good short book.
Let's see, Sarah says, I refuse to pick up a series unless I have a good idea that I'll like it. I'm not wasting weeks of my life on a series and find out that it sucks. And 2 books is a series when you read as slow as I do. And she also says, not to be a jerk, but I'm certain there's things that can be removed from a 120K word book. I don't care about a lot of details other authors seem to think I care about. Gotcha. Eva does check page counts, but Eva is also extra in everything. Love you. Short reads have definitely become more popular.
Mm-hmm.
I found myself surprised if I don't check word count, because I found myself surprised by a really, really short word count for the same price that I would pay for a larger work. And because it surprised me, I'm like, oh, I'm going to check that from now on, because that's what?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So to piggyback off of this, when do you feel you can break some of the genre expectations? And which genre expectations do you feel are more acceptable to break than others? We'll add to that.
I think word count might be the most forgiving of the genre expectations you can break. There are certain beats that you are expected to hit when you're writing romance, when you're writing adventure, when you're writing mysteries, when you're writing sci-fi, sci-fantasy, sci-fan, when you're writing supernatural, or when you're writing thrillers. You're expected to hit certain beats, and I think those expectations are, you you have to hit them in some manner, because if you don't, then the readers that are loyalists to that genre will be like, oh, well, this book and this and that and then this thing. Another thing is, depending on the genre that you're writing, the number of characters you have is something that is, I think, you can bend it, but you can't break it. But I think the most forgiving one you can break is the genre expectation. Although I have seen several reviews lately where people were like, this book could have been longer. I could have used a little more of this story. I could have used a little more of this character. So I think you can bend the expectations. Oh, hell, the feline overlords!
It's the only way to get him to stop meowing at the door. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all good. Let's see. I like this one. Anytime I want to. Writing to market isn't writing, and publishing and writing are not the same thing. It is writing, but it's not the only form of writing. So, for me, genre expectations, I don't want gore in my romance unless it's like a horror that has romance in it kind of thing. I don't think like the extremes should be broken, if that makes any sense. I'm probably not wording it right, but other than that, go for it. Especially if you're an indie author. We're made to break rules.
We're all genre sluts here. We just mash our genres together.
Yeah, I mean, we wrote our stories
publishing is because of the fact that you can break all these genre expectations and still be able to put out a book that someone somewhere is going to enjoy.
Yeah. And most of us write for ourselves. Mm-hmm. We're not really well, money would be nice. It would.
Yes.
But honestly, I'm writing these stories for me. And I've heard all of y'all say that, I think, at one point in time. So
yeah, like we wrote our stories and we're still writing our stories. And we did it because it was a hobby. It was fun. It's kind of our cathartic. It's, hey, I'm going to escape the stress of the regular world and just dive into these different characters that they can help us alleviate that stress. And we never considered publishing until the last few years. And that's, it's like, well, it would be nice to make some money off of it since we're doing it. And so that's where that came in. So yeah, the genre expectations, I had to go find genres that worked. Like we wrote the stories, then we were like, well, what genre even is this? So that's when I started doing the study of genre expectations and trying to get maybe around what people expected for that book for this time frame, or, and that's how we came up with 5 books in the first series, because we were like, well, about how many words would be in each, if it's a urban fantasy and a paranormal romance mixed, what would this be, on average? And so then we went back and we were like, okay, so what part of our story would fit here and what part of our story would make sense to fit here, until we get at least this overarching original plot of giving the dragons their freedom handled. So that's where we went with it. So, I mean, I didn't even think about genre expectations when we were writing at all. So it was just after the fact.
Yeah. Jen's comment, she writes urban fantasy with a subplot of romance. Book 3 is coming out soon. Yeah, her books, the romance, in Jen's books, the romance are in the background. I mean, there are times when they bubble to the surface and then they retreat, but that's one thing. I think as indie authors, we get away with more with the genre bending, but there are like certain expectations that if you don't specify that these things are in there, like I write overcomer fiction in the Pagosa Cliff series. But when I first started publishing, they kept niching me into cozy romance because it was a story about a baker. And it's like, oh no, this isn't cozy. This isn't sweet at all. Her mother is an abusive psycho who tries to kill her. And you know, her sister dies in the 4th chapter. So it's that I think we get away with more because we're indie authors, but I think writers and like there are certain loyalists that will hold you to the I wanted this. I didn't want any gore in my romance. Then why did you pick up a supernatural romance? I didn't want ghost in my mystery. Well, then why did you pick up a supernatural mystery?
Yeah.
You know, as a sci-fi fantasy writer, I'm lucky because I'm in the more forgiving of genre. We just stuff all of it in there. We are making minestrone and everything is going in the pot.
Welcome to this hodgepodge mess.
Right. Right.
But it tastes so good.
For dinner, we're having stoop. It's not a stew. It's not a soup. It's just the pot.
Yeah.
It's stoop.
You did a lot of research, and Jenny says, "I write what I want to read."
Exactly.
Exactly.
It really isn't that complicated. The writing world talks about it way more than the readers. I think keywords are more vital along with the cover and blurb. Speaking of keywords, here is a website that you can look up a book and see all the keywords that are associated with it. So if you have your companion books, you know what your book is like kind of thing, then you can look that up and try to use the same keywords as it. Thought that might be helpful. I don't know. But this. How many reviews are y'all getting? Is worrying about bad reviews even a real thing as an unknown?
That's the firebrand topic. There are some authors that the reviews are everything to them. The reviews literally are everything to them. They get a bad review, they have a meltdown. There are some authors, we get a bad review and we're like, meh.
Yeah.
Meh.
I've seen so much more come from a bad review than a good review.
Yeah.
It is fantastic to use a bad review and toss it up on social media and be like, so what do you guys think? Because wow, because some people really go ham on their bad reviews. I know several people, especially who are more open to discussion when it comes to politics and stuff like that. And one of these guys, I don't know if you know Father Nathan Monk, but he uses his bad reviews all the time. And he writes fiction. I read one of his books, and it is very long and it is very windy. Yes. But I really appreciated it. I really liked it. It was a lot of fun to read. It was very different compared to genre expectation or anything. But he got some really rough reviews because of that. And what he did was he posted them online, and he responded to some of them. And it actually caused people to be like, what are they talking about? I need to go look this book up, you know? And so I think that it follows that sometimes bad press is good press. So, you know, I don't really pay attention to mine. I think that after I got my first 3-star, that was based on the fact that the person reading wasn't used to reading protagonists that were in a male-male relationship. And that was pretty much the sole basis of the 3-star instead of higher, I was like, oh, this is fun. This is just, yeah, I'm not going to pay attention to it.
I got a 2-star. It was back when they were thinking that it was cozy, and I'm like, no, it's not cozy. I mean, it's an overcomer story, but it's, and I got a 2-star based on one word. I lost a star based on one word. So it was it's the thing with bad reviews is they teach you that not everybody's going to like what you write.
That too.
They are a learning lesson. If the bad review has good points,
it also teaches
you. If it's just somebody snarking, and there are those troll readers out there. They will just snark, and there's a lot of authors out there with fears of bad reviews, and they'll reach out and they'll be like, was it really this bad? Was this scene really that? Was this real? And it's like, no, it was fine. Maybe tweak this, maybe tweak that, but it was fine. And yeah, it's I think the bad reviews are like the imp. They become part of the imp in the back of our head, just chewing on our confidence as writers. And most of us just try to there's actually an exercise that we did on Twitter X last month. Write a bad review for your own book. Write a bad review for your own. It was part of the time travel author thing that I'm part of, that tag. And it's like, yeah, this author needs to just pick one time travel trope and stick with it.
That sounds like it would be a lot of fun to write a bad review for your own book. What can I hate on today?
The worst, snarkiest, most petty review you can for your own book, and then post it on your own social media.
I might be weird here, but I actually never look at reviews because I have that mindset that reviews are not for me. Like, I get that they can be helpful to writers, but I don't ever look at them. I'm like, I don't even look at them when I'm reading, honestly, until I've actually finished a book, or if I want to know if the book is worth my time. Like, if I want to know the ending purposely spoiled for me. Like, I don't even look at them as a reader, but especially as a writer, I never even look at my reviews. I couldn't tell you how many reviews I have. I have no idea.
I don't anymore. I think the main reason I look at a review was to see, oh, can I use this like on, promo or whatever? Is this a review I could possibly use on a promo or whatever? But I decided that once I saw people using their bad reviews to boost themselves on social media, I was like, oh, I don't care about the bad reviews anymore. If I get a bad review, I get a bad review.
Yeah. Just the key is just don't let it
around and reading the reviews for your favorite book. Like, take your favorite book and go read the bad reviews of it. It's hilarious. It's fantastic.
Exactly.
Yep.
I've read 1-star books that I loved and didn't understand why people gave it a bad review. Plus, you're right. Some people think that they've got to actually summarize the book in the review. And so I don't want to do that. As a reader, I don't want to do that because I don't want anything spoiled for me.
Right. Not like this. 3-star reviews aren't bad reviews, and people need to stop saying they are. Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah. When I mentioned the 3-star review, it was just the fact that she told me behind the scenes that's the only reason I didn't get a 4-star review is because of the relationship. And she didn't expect it to be that kind of relationship, even though I'm pretty sure the blurb and the image on the front of the book may have clued them in. I don't know.
I having read them, I'm like,
Yeah. And again, some people just don't open their eyes.
I would rather have honest reviews that are 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars than have like all 5 stars reviews and people be going, people like this book too much. How many friends and families wrote reviews for you? Because that is a thing in the indie author world. That is a thing. If you're an indie author, people will look at the positive reviews and their first thought is friends and family wrote it. The second thought is, oh, you paid someone to write all these reviews. Raise your hand if you've gotten that thing from that random person who says, we will give you so many 5-star reviews and ratings for this much money.
Oh, yeah. I think everybody's had that.
Yeah, at Amazon, don't do that. Don't succumb to that. If you're desperate to market your book, do not go down that rabbit hole because they'll send out your book to their email reading list. But the problem is if they start putting reviews on your Amazon page, on your Barnes and Noble page, on your Kobe page, you can get kicked from those platforms. Mm-hmm. Because buying reviews is...
Yeah. Let's see.
We were talking about what if you read a friend's book in the chat. They're talking about what if you read a friend's book and it's only 1 star.
Yeah. Or did their friend status make it a 4-star? That's the gate. Okay. It's about, the whole gatekeeping thing. So this is...
Break it down for me.
I don't
like
trust
a grader. What?
What?
What are they asking?
Using friends and families to boost your review as a form of gatekeeping.
Oh.
Yeah.
For good books versus bad books. But then that will lead us eventually into fandoms review bombing the enemy writers' books.
Yeah.
And regardless, and I'm just going to say this about a very popular author, and then just come for me. I don't care. I don't like her books. Sarah J. Maas. A lot of her fan loyalists will 5-star her books, no matter how bad the plot is, the characters are, the behaviors are. I'm happy that it makes you tingle, but for the love of God, stop appropriating other cultures so you can get all of the popular tags. At the time, your Valkyries were not Valkyries, they were Amazons. Just because the whole Viking thing was popular when you wrote that book does not mean you can culturally appropriate something. I'm done. It's fine. I'm going to push my soapbox out the window now. Yes, but
my favorite thing with her fans right now is the fact that they're like, she's the origin. I'm like, I can name you 5 books that were published 20 years before that are actually not even origins themselves. So I'm like, you shut your mouth.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This right here, I hate that happened, but
I'm so sorry, Sarah.
Yeah. That's
wow.
No. That's crappy of that person. Sorry to say, but that shouldn't be a friendship ender.
No.
It's your opinion. And if they don't like your opinion, then they don't care as much as they should.
Same goes for like if you expect your friends to read your books. A lot of my friends aren't into my genre. So why would I expect them to read my books? You know? And goes for spouses and anybody. It's like if they're not into that genre, then why would you expect them to read that book? It's not a matter of their love for you or their caring for you to do it. For me that blows my mind too, because it is a 3-star. It's not like a 1-star. My brain is like, what? Not that I would care if it was one of my best friends that wrote a 1-star review because I did a bad job or they thought that the story wasn't cool or whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I think reviews are very subjective. I'm trying to find a video I watched where this booktuber was talking about their review system versus their friend's review system. And it was really weird because their friend said that a 3-star for them was a book they absolutely hated because they don't do 1- and 2-star reviews. Whereas the person who was actually doing the video, a 3-star for her was kind of like me. It's average. That means she liked the book. It wasn't the greatest, but she didn't hate it. And so like seeing that mindset of the review, if you were to not know that and go look at their reviews on like Goodreads or Amazon or wherever they post them, you would be, if you see that 3-star and see that they hated it, you'd be like, what the heck?
Yeah. So this right here, and the whole thing about reviewing friends' books, used to, because I've gotten sent a few books and I would not leave a review because to me they weren't good. I did not like them. But now it's like, you know what? Who cares? You know, just be honest. If it's really that bad, maybe have a private conversation with that person before you post a review, or if you post a review, so maybe they can pull it off and re-edit it or whatever needs to happen, and then they can republish it, kind of thing. Because
yeah, but the nice thing about being indie authors is we can pull off our books, rewrite them, and re-release them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like so validating to be able to go, oh, fix that. 72 hours later, gone like smoke. Mm-hmm. I have an 8th edition Anne McCaffrey that's got over 20 errors in it.
Mm-hmm.
And how many people have looked at this book? You know, so yeah.
It's scary because, like, you know, but the thing is, like, with me and Dawn, we wanted to just go ahead and release the stories. Mm-hmm. So now we're going back and we actually have the tools and the budget to get things edited better. So we're going to have a re-release, but it didn't take away from people reading the stories and enjoying the characters.
Yeah.
Our commas and our grammar mess ups, and actually I've caught 4 spelling errors again, and I'm like, I may be down on that. I may be down on myself because of that, because of my editing, you know, heart. But, you know, the fact is we are still selling books, and people still talk to me about how they like Cineas and how they enjoyed that first chapter, and or how they wish the chapter was a little bit longer, or did this or did that, you know, and I'm like, that tells me they read the book and they enjoyed it. So I think that sometimes people overestimate the power of grammar and stuff like that when it comes to entertainment.
Yeah. See, in this too, it can happen. So that whole private conversation thing.
Yeah. I have done that. I have DNF'd a book and gone to the author, and it really turned out that she thought that because the editor went through it, that it was perfect.
Yeah,
and I'm like, no. No, like I couldn't get through chapter 3. I could tell it was going to be a good story, but it was all the grammar errors that I was picking up in the back of my mind wouldn't let me continue. So then that told her she needed to go through and redo some stuff. So that's one of those situations where I'm like, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt first before I post a scathing review. I don't think that's fair.
Yeah. You guys saw my panic last month with my friend's book that had gone to an editor, had been paid for, and she sent it to me as an ARC, and I was like, oh my God. And like I cranked out. I think I ended up spending like 65 hours just solid editing mine, going through it as carefully as I could, as quickly as I could, because she already had a publishing date and she put a lot of work into it. But, you know, it's, you know, that's one thing that happens in the indie author world is people who hire out for services, you know, there are good editors There are good beta readers. There are good editors. There are good sensitivity readers. Got kicked out of a group on Facebook for, again, bringing up the fact that in this day and age, you need to have a sensitivity reader. And there's one person on that page who touts herself as a professional book marketer and stuff. And she doesn't think sensitivity readers are necessary. She and I are the same age. And I understand that Gen Xer mentality that, people just need to tough it up and not be sensitive. But, this is a different era that we're in now. And so there are people that, you can pay for these and you will get really good services. And then there are people that are like, they'll say, oh yeah, I'll edit your book. I'll do your editing and stuff. And this much for so many thousand words. And they'll run it through Grammarly once. Or like, they'll run it through like Apache Writes like 10 years ago. And, okay, I edited your book. You owe me this much money. And then somebody else gets their book and they're like, what? And so it's, it's really scary out there for indie authors because we're, especially the new ones who just, they're so excited for the books. And we all know that person that is so excited for their book to be out there that, they think the minute they pull it off Wattpad that they can just scrunch it all together and throw it onto Amazon. And then they're like upset because they start getting those 1-star reviews. And it's like, you're like, no, you've got a good story. Mm-hmm. You need to tighten it up here. You need to, tweak it there. You need to run it through this. And it's like, I've told you guys about I've got a 15-step process and I still will find something in a book and be like.
Well, I think some of that comes from their fans. They think that because they're in a fan fiction zone or they're in a Wattpad zone or whatever, mm-hmm. and they're being told how wonderful their story is. And, they've got so many subscribers that can't wait for the next episode. So they assume that means that it's perfect already, and it's like, that's not the case. It's, a lot of our stories started in a fantasy, urban fantasy setting that we made online. And it traveled through 3 different groups. And then we pulled it and we were doing it, we were writing it back and forth to ourselves. And it's like, but the thing is those are different products. That's the way you write on a fan fiction board or on a Wattpad or whatever and especially if you're writing with as a co-author, you're head hopping a lot, and you can't head hop in a novel without making absolutely sure that each person's voice is very obvious. And so that I've seen that. Yeah. I've seen that example actually, where somebody just, they thought that everything that they had there was absolutely perfect because they had so many fans and stuff. And then they just kind of copy pasted and went with it. And it's like, no, it's a different product. If once it's explained to somebody, it's like, no, it's perfectly fine on Wattpad. It's perfectly fine on your fan fiction boards. It's fantastic. But once you start making a novel out of it, that's a different product. So,
yeah, and there's so many steps. There's so many steps of editing, and that's just the story part of it. Then you get to the production part of it, where you've got to do all the formatting and the cover design and the chapter header design, and yeah, it's a whole world.
Yep. So let's see.
Need to break out the karaoke.
Yeah, we do.
We can't sing that song. The Overlord D will come on.
Yes, I know. Got to be careful.
We would have to mute ourselves every other word or something. Let's see. Jenny says, I have people excited for book 3, but I've had to push it back another month because I don't want to put out a low quality book. I'd rather have quality over quantity. Yeah.
Oh,
Sheila says, my reviews are 4 to 5 stars only because they aren't my heart, they are my support. Kat says my writing in general is trash. No, stop. Do not be negative, madam. But I tip to edit books. I'm just bad at it, and I know that and plan to release when I have money to afford proper editing. Morning. Good morning.
Morning, Laura.
All right. So, yeah, madam. Let's go ahead and jump into this one. And I'm just feeding off of the thing that we've
we started with.
Yeah. But if y'all have
Laura,
anything, yeah, come on.
We started with the discussion that we had yesterday about thick books, long book versus splitting it into a duology. So now we're circling back around the thing that we talked about on JC's channel.
Yeah. So have y'all made plans to kind of deal with this? Or are you just going to continue to write like you do?
Oh, you're talking about from a writer perspective.
Yeah.
I totally read that question as like a reader perspective. I write shorter chapters. Like I think my longest chapter is 3,000 words long, and that was for like more epic fantasy versus any other genre. So I don't write long chapters. I just write multiple chapters.
Yeah.
I do that. My chapters run about 3,000 words.
Okay.
Same.
I will say one thing though, that I do like short. It depends. I do like short chapters. I don't mind like splitting up scenes into shorter chapters. I don't like it when I have a chapter that is 500 words, and then the next chapter is 5,000 words.
Yeah, no.
I understand. Like if you're POV hopping, that might be something that you have to do. Like if each chapter is a different POV. But as somebody who likes things broken up evenly, and this is just my OCD goal brain, I want things equal, close to equal. I can allow a little wiggle room, but if you've got a 1-page chapter and then like a 10-page chapter, and that keeps happening, I'm going to get annoyed very fast because then my brain goes, why are these even in here?
I think there are some authors who can get away with that, because I know I've read books that I've thoroughly enjoyed that had very, very short, punchy chapters and then extremely long ones. Like, I don't remember who wrote it, but there was definitely a book out there where most of the chapters were pretty long. And then there was one chapter somewhere in the middle-ish that was literally one word, and that was the entire chapter before it went on to the next really long chapter. And I'm like, okay.
Well, I kind of like this. That now.
Oh, I know you're mad at me. Yeah. You can continue being mad. You're not going outside.
Yeah, I try to keep my chapters around 3,000. So it'll go from around 2,000 to 3,000, and then I believe we had a couple of chapters in the first book that were completely villain based, and they were a little bit shorter. So we're talking that out right now as far as book one, since we're doing a revision of book one. But but because I'm trying to keep them kind of in that range, I wound up seeing one chapter this time around that's like 4,500 words. So we're trying to figure out where to split it, where to make the split so that it makes sense in the book. Because it's, to me, I'm like, I have that inner critic that's going, hey, you need to figure something out here, because it's supposed to be between these two. And that's just a me rule. If I were a reader, I prefer all my chapters be, consistent. Or if you're going to have a kind of a shorter chapter and then a longer chapter and a shorter, at least like space it out, so that it's not too jarring. But that's just me.
Sam, you're muted.
Awesome. Okay. So,
My brain went on lockdown. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. In some genres, the expectations are short chapters, and other genres you can get away with longer chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. What about 3 returns, white space within a chapter? Do you guys do that, or does it distress? If it's a break between POV scenes, sure, but I would prefer like a line break or something like that. I don't.
Mine gets formatted in Atticus, and so I just do the line break, and I have a little image that goes between the two that indicates that. So, I mean, I guess that's considered white space. Otherwise, no, I don't, because for one thing, it's making your book longer. From a writer's standpoint, you're going to have to pay more for that if you have a lot. But at the same time, it's I don't know. It just I just only the POV breaks and scene break.
Yeah. This makes me, like, if it's just white space and there's no symbol in there or like a page break thing, it makes me think that it's formatted wrong.
Yeah, that.
So yeah. As long as you have like a little symbol in there, like I know as writers we use the 3 hashtag symbols or whatever for the page break so that we can go back and format it better. And Atticus, do not knock the door down, sir. Okay, sorry. Here we go. That's a good plan, Margaret. That way you get a taster of the series and author style and know if you want to invest more. Yes, about the shorter first book. Eva says that white space works for her. Cat Paw says white space is fine.
I grew up with both, so I don't really have an opinion on it. I grew up with both. I grew up reading really old books. And so, yeah, I grew up with the space, like the dime store novels. Like I read, they just have a white space, and then like older published books would have like really fancy things in the chapters. So I grew up with both. I think that's preference. People who have ADHD, their brains, it depends on the person, but for the most part, their brains don't recognize the white space and they just continue on as though it is the same chapter. And that might be disorienting for them. So just, be aware. And also in poetry books, you can get away with white space.
Mm-hmm.
White space is much more accepted in poetry books than, like, say, science fiction.
Yeah. This is interesting. How about no chapters?
I've read a couple books like that had no chapters at all, but it used the white space to kind of, it basically would have been where a chapter started, and it just used the page break as like that ending, but there was no actual chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3.
Yeah.
It was very interesting to read.
Yeah. I love Terry Pratchett's books. Always have. And the whole no chapter with him, I was fine with it. There was another one that tried that, and it just they didn't cut their chapters well between the white spaces. It was, I don't know if they were trying to make a statement with it, but it didn't hit me right. It might have hit other people right, but it didn't hit me right.
I don't like that. I like having like the things, but I will say that I read a book, and the chapters, they had 12 chapters, and the chapters were about 15,000 words long. Ooh. So it was just like the never ending chapter. Just where is the end? So yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd be like, what?
No. So whenever I'm reading, it's usually right before I go to bed. And my whole thing is because I read multiple books at the same time, I read like 3 chapters. I read a chapter for this one, a chapter for this one, and a chapter for this one. And not having chapters and not having any visible breaks would probably irk me more now than it would when I was younger. But yeah. The collection of short stories, that's how my brain would read that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So did anybody think of anything else while we were discussing the whole length and all that good stuff?
I didn't think of anything else.
We covered a lot, honestly.
We covered so much that my brain's just like, well, there we go.
I just thought that was such an interesting discussion that we had yesterday on JC's channel that I wanted to bring it through today so that we could talk about it. I like even wrote myself a note to bring this up on Breaking the Lock today about your book is thick. How much do you cut? Do you go for the duology? Do you break the genre expectation? Because that's some, as indie authors, we have much more freedom than trad pub authors. We have much more control. So
Definitely.
And even trad publishers these days, depending on the person or depending on what the book is, there are trad books out there that are breaking the genre expectations. I have an author friend who started with indie publishing, and he's got some chonkers, and he submitted a 400K epic fantasy, and it was published within a year.
wow.
So like it does happen. It's just rare and extreme.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing, because we control the pricing. Would you rather get a big chonker book for a really high price or 2 or 3 smaller books for the lower price?
Well, I like the idea, the consumer in me likes the idea of the smaller books because, well, for one thing, ADHD, I like smaller, or at least manageable. In my mind, it's manageable. But also, if it's a really long book and I get into like chapter 3 and realize it's not for me, at least I've only bought one book at a lower price than the entire chonker. Now, from the opposite standpoint, if you're a writer, well, you lost all that money and you could have just sold them the big chonker.
Yeah.
And whether they liked it or not,
Well, the other thing is, you've got that 10% rule. If you sell them a $2.99 book, that's a small book, and they get to chapter 3 and they DNF, they've already passed the 10%, and so they can't return the book. But if they buy, say, a $12.99 book, and they hit chapter 3 and they go, "Oh, this sucks," return it, and then you make nothing. That's
true.
a thing. But here's the thing, we're again having that thing go around book talk. Thank you very much, of treating Amazon like a lending library, reading the whole book, returning the book. And then the authors have to pay not only for the download fees for the book, but they have to return all the money they made for the book. So they're actually giving Amazon the cost of the book plus in return. Because it's not just it sucks.
Yeah. I have to go with Margaret on this one because my wrists and hands hurt so much, like my fingers go numb and stuff. Whenever I'm reading, that I like smaller-ish books. That doesn't mean that I don't have omnibuses of some of these back here. It's just those bigger books I read during the day instead of right before I go to bed. And I probably won't get through them as fast because it's not my normal reading time kind of thing. So, yeah.
It's just a
remember,
convenience thing for me. The little girl that was carrying around Stephen King's It at age 12, 13.
Mhm.
Yeah, she would have appreciated smaller stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just remember this I think I saw a cartoon about problems that paper books have that ebooks don't have, and it was this person, and they were reading their ebook in bed, and they had the phone over their face, and then the next image was like paper books, and it was a person laying there dead, and this gigantic book was like impaled on their face, and the paramedics were there. So,
See,
See,
that's
I'm an
me
ebook
with
reader, so
e-reader.
I don't have an opinion on that, really.
If I have an e-reader and I'm reading it in bed, it's going to fall on my face at some point. It's
Yep.
inevitable. But a paperback,
Yes.
it never falls on my face.
yes,
I'm
by
scared of
book.
it, so I stay awake.
And for my husband, he likes the big chonkers. I mean, I see him with more chunky books than I do smaller books. So it just really depends on your reader.
Yeah, because my e-reader is very light, very
Yeah.
little.
Beady, beady.
My e-reader.
Your phone. My
I
e-reader
got
plugged
that
in.
one because I'm bored.
Okay, now we have to do the medical announcement. To have proper sleep ratio, you should reduce your screen time 1 hour before bed. Okay, our disclaimer's out there. Shh, buy our books.
Don't talk to me about that. As I was on the computer at 3 o'clock in the morning before bed.
That's the reason why there's blue lenses. We don't have to worry about that. No. No.
I cannot comment. I am all about reading the book in bed.
Yep.
I've never fallen asleep reading, but I'm quite likely to read until I check the clock and realize it's 5 a.m. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're reading a really good book, and then you hear your chickens outside, and you're like,
Whoops.
Been there, done that. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Or their alarm goes off for whatever you have to do the next morning. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. I want y'all to make sure to check out Mama Maggie's new release. Here's the link over on Amazon and somewhere.
I have a video. I will be going live in less than an hour for the book launch. I can share the link.
Yeah, go ahead, and because I have lost it. I shared it at the beginning, and yeah. Me and finding my links where I've copied and pasted them to save them to put in here is not working today.
Oh, I don't have Rachel's stream pulled up. Oh, well, I did. Hold on.
I just started doing it today, so.
You're all good. All good. But yeah.
There we go.
Yes. Margaret has a thing after too.
I say Margaret's is an anniversary stream, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing my anniversary stream with my book launch today because, I looked at my date and I was like, oh, I've had my channel for 7 years. Woo! I have taken down some of the earliest videos that I did, some of the very first videos I did. So the first video, if you go to my channel and you look, the very first video on my channel is me and Mara reading from Red Velvet and Anemones, like 4.5, almost 5 years ago.
Yeah. There's Margaret's link
Thank
to
you.
her anniversary live. Let's see.
Happy anniversary, everyone. Woo.
Yeah, for real.
There's
I
some
have-
days
We
of
all started
anniversary.
summer. Our channel's in the summer.
Yeah. I've lost track of when I started. Me and anniversaries don't get along, so I don't even keep up with mine anymore. Same with the character randomizer. People have been talking about the anniversary of the character randomizer. I'm like, it's been just a year, right?
No, it's 2 years. We're on 2 years of character randomizer.
Oh,
See? 2 years. Yeah.
2
No.
years. Because I was going back through the different character randomizers trying to figure out, because I know I've got like 3 stories that I have to back up and write, plus the one that I have to write for this month.
Yep.
So yeah, I got to catch up. I'm such a slacker. Hi, my name is Megan. I'm a slacker.
I haven't written the one for this month or last month yet either, so me, it'll be all right.
Speaking of cutting things, yeah, I'm gonna have to like cut the one for last month because I'm like at 10,000 words on that. It's turning into a novella, and I'm like, no, short story, and I'm like, but this.
That's all right. It's a good size cohort from 2020. Nice. Wow. You're old.
Yeah, and somebody says
Oh,
20
yeah.
years ago, and I think the 80s, and everybody's like, no, that was the 20s zeros.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
One of those shirts that say, "Don't talk to me like that. I was born in the 1900s."
Yes. I need that shirt too. All right. Everybody, let's do outros. Skye, you want to start, and then we'll go with Maggie, and then Rach.
It's one of those ways. Hello, everyone, or goodbye. My name is Skye. I'm a fantasy author who typically writes paranormal romance under the name sdhegyes. And I've really enjoyed these because I love these streams. I always get so many good ideas. There's always good topics. And thank you for putting up with my cat who was alternating between like thumping his tail against me really hard and trying to bite me on in views that you guys couldn't see because he's irritated with me because I won't let him outside. So that's me.
Thank you for watching, lovelies. Mama Maggie Ward here, independent author and stroke survivor. My book, there's my book. This is flipped over. It messes up my poor damaged brain. Spartan Chimera, doing the launch stream in about an hour, and also my 7th anniversary on YouTube stream. And then after that, we'll be hopping over to Margaret's channel for her anniversary, which is coming up in 109 minutes. So yeah, there's that. So join us because you're going to be on YouTube all day today. Stay with us.
Yes.
One of us. One of us.
One of us.
I am Rachel D. Adams. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed it. I always get something out of these talks, so I'm hoping to be here as many times as possible. I will be stream hopping today as well because I'm not going to miss any of these anniversaries and any of my friends on the AuthorTube side. So there we go.
All right. So thank you, everyone, for joining me on here. And thank you, everybody, for the chat. For those of you watching the replays on all the various channels, thank you for watching the replays as well. Make sure to hit that like button and support our channels. And we will see you next Sunday for another episode of Breaking the Block at 10 a.m. Eastern. And